Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Hip Hop Happy Hour podcast, coming to you live from Pawtucket, Rhode Island. What up,
Yes, sir.
Uncle Evan? Welcome back, my friend. Welcome back.
Good to be back. Hip Hop Happy Hour. It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Oh yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Without further ado, this is a very big episode for us. We
Huge.
have some legendary producers in the house,
That word
and let's
almost
just
minimizes it. It almost minimizes how big that really is to
I
be.
and you know I don't throw that word around lightly. So
No, no, not at
let's
all.
let's let's bring them up right now, live from Germany. Welcome, the Snowgoons.
Yeah,
DJ.
yeah. What's good? What's good?
How are you, sir? How are
Hey,
you?
Crypt, what up, sir?
Everybody in the building.
Yes, yes.
DJ Eagle,
What's up? What's up, y'all?
salute, salute.
We appreciate you guys taking your time with us today. For real, for real. Thank you greatly.
100%, man. It's a pleasure to be here.
Man, yeah,
Definitely,
highly
thank you,
appreciate it, man.
The pleasure is
thank you,
ours.
thank you.
I'm sure you hear that a lot, but the pleasure is ours. Seriously. Like,
Alright.
really,
Yeah,
really.
you guys are legends, like for real. That word is cemented
Yeah.
as legends in this here game. You've been around since what, 1999, I
Yep.
believe the Snowgoon started, and you guys haven't stopped since you started. And my first question is, how do
Mhm.
you do it? How have you been so consistent and worked with everyone on this planet, basically?
Well, I mean, the very first thing is obviously we love hip hop, you know what I'm saying? So it's like recently there is a lot of talks about people that retiring and shit like that, right? And I'm not the youngest anymore, but I don't see myself retiring at any time, you know what I'm saying? Because I grew up with hip hop, man, and hip hop is in my DNA, so I
Facts.
will do
Right,
this even if I would technically not produce anymore or whatever. I'm sure I will be somewhere in the hip hop realm and do my thing basically, but I would never stop. So to answer that question is like the way I do it is just I take all my love and everything and just live everyday hip hop. And I mean, like right here, my brother's DJ Crypt, we've been around the planet, man, for hip
right.
hop, like we touring
Absolutely.
worldwide and did alone that gives us so much energy, and then obviously also of course all the people that rock with us, and support us and still rocking with the Snowgoons. That's another point why we obviously don't stop, so but I would say very first for me personally it's definitely like the love to hip hop, so I couldn't even stop if I wanted to technically.
Right, right. Crip, how about you? What keeps you moving?
Yeah, definitely, man. When I felt in love with hip hop at the first sight, man, it was just such an overwhelming thing, and then since then, it's never has been stopped. So just always continuing doing what we love and contributing the love to the culture, and that's what it's. Yeah, what's
All
the
right.
the inner energy is all the time. You know what I'm saying?
It's always a vibe. If it's not, then you're not doing it right. If you don't feel it, if there's no energy, then it's not real. Um, so I got a quick question for both of you
Mhm.
because obviously Snowgoons, incredible producers, but have either of you ever tried to be rappers?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you know Signature is basically our rapper too, and unfortunately he can't be here tonight, but then again, also this is another like really big plus for the Snowgoons because we're such a big collective, right? And so that means whoever is there to represent the Snowgoons is representing the Snowgoons, So there is no boss or like nobody more important than another person, but everybody got shit going on in his life, and sometimes you can't do this or not, or so that's why, for example, Signature is not here, so he could have probably answered this question or this one the best because he's actually rhyming, and I that was the first thing that me and Signature, when he came into the group, what I really admired at him, because I didn't even know at the point when I met him the first time that he's producing as well, because I met him as a rapper on stage basically, and he gave me his album, and I really liked it. And I didn't realize at that time that he actually produced every single song on his album. And I really liked the production, the way he rhymes, because to be clear, like Signature is from Copenhagen, Denmark, so he's not from the States. But in my opinion, he can definitely like hold up with the US hip hop scene, so that's not a question, like he's definitely killing the mic. And you have to understand, man, from somebody that's basically not from the US, and your mother tongue is not even English, right?
Right.
He be definitely killing it. So and then for me, I mean, obviously DJ Crypt is a DJ Illegal me is a DJ. So we've been always more to the DJ side, the producing side, because I think that's more or less a natural evolution, if you want to keep it like this. You start out as a DJ, and then you eventually become to like the producing part and everything, right? Once you go into turntablism and you have beat structures and all of that, you really close to already like producing beats, more or less, right? That's how I got into the producing, basically, because I started out with the DJing. But also it's funny, like I was rhyming in German in the early 90s a little bit, right? When German hip hop came up, but I realized really fast, like, yo, this is not really my thing, like I wasn't probably really good, and it just didn't really feel like, it didn't like hit me like when I was on the turntable. So that's why I developed more to a DJ, and later on also producing, because that was really stuff that catched me, and I was like doing it and shit. So yeah, but I mean, I'm on here and there. If you actually like into the Snowgoons, then you realize I did already like 2-3 hooks and little lines that I recorded actually, and so Signature always trying to like include me into a joint or whatever, right? Because we're doing also the live performance, so it's even cooler when we do the live performance, because our music also like really kind of changed a little bit when you see like this, because I mean, we're in a very fortunate spot with the Snowgoons, because we actually doing live shows, right? And a lot of people know us only as producers. So, but we actually touring and doing live shows. And when we do that, like it's, our music changed over the years because we adapted a little bit to the live stuff. Because It's obviously different. If you're just a recording artist and being at home and writing your songs, that's cool. But if you like actually doing a lot of shows, you gain a lot of experience, like working with the crowd.
Yep.
And getting feedback right there and stuff like that. So I'm sure will change the way of you produce. Like when we do songs nowadays, we also think about too, like about the hooks, like not necessarily to be like mediocre or like do anything like, oh, we have to do a hook now that everybody can chant and shit, right? That's not really the point. But sometimes you need like that one live banger, and we working on a song like this, then obviously in our minds we take all the experience that we have from the live performance and incorporate it into that song, So that's why I'm saying, like, sometimes Signature like puts me here and there with the line into the song, so it will be different. It's a different dynamic when you do it on stage,
It definitely is. It definitely, you tend to take that influence and think about, like you say, it's not to cater to the crowd, but you know that you're going to be performing it in front of the crowd. So let me rock with it. This is the joint specifically for y'all. Let me do this. And all right, so let me ask you this. What would you say is like the biggest crowd that you guys have performed in front of since you've been touring?
Who, like for really Snowgoons? That's really, I guess it will be the hip hop camp. Like it's a big hip hop festival in Europe, like one of the biggest in Czech Republic. And I believe I can't really say exactly, but at the time I think it was around like 30,000, right, Crypt? Something like that. They between 25 and 30,000 when they was on their peak. This was basically before we start really performing as Snowgoons on the festival. I was on the festival all the years, and we was already DJing and doing DJ parties there. But at that peak, there was times they had 40,000 people.
Wow.
But when we came in like a couple of years later, it already kind of slowed down a little bit. And so, if I'm right, it was 25 to 30,000 people. And that's definitely a difference, you know, like it's crazy. There is actually a video on YouTube. When you type in Snowgoons in hip hop camp, this video will show up, and you will see, man, the crowd. Somebody filmed it from the crowd, and it looks just crazy when we do the Snowgoons chant, and then you see all of a sudden this like 10,000 people like screaming Snowgoons. It looks definitely nuts, man. It's a crazy feeling too, you know.
It's priceless. That's priceless. You can't pay for that.
Yeah.
True.
I wanted to ask you guys, growing up in Germany, what were your biggest American hip hop influences?
Crypt, you go first.
Yeah, personally speaking, I would say like in the beginning, because I started writing in the beginning when I touched the hip hop culture. So yeah, definitely,
graffiti, right?
Yeah, with graffiti, and so all the time people that were also into graffiti that touched me in the beginning very first. So I guess KRS-One was definitely a big guy for me, and all the artifacts, and but yeah, just sound wise, and I guess like the Mob Deep shit, Queensbridge, New York in general, New York, Old Fat Joe, Big Pun, all these cats, they definitely catch me in the beginning, 100%.
Word. So yeah, since I'm a little bit older, you know, so I go back to like the 90s, and I do remember basically when I was a kid, right? And I didn't even had any clue about music in general, right? Because as a kid, you don't really think about like, oh, this is rock and this is pop, and you know, you don't really think too much into genres, I guess, like at least for me. And I do remember I was playing with my brother. We was playing Lego, you know, as kids, like in the crib. And my uncle had a tape, and on that tape there was mixed up music from like the 80s. It was like, for example, there was Nina 99 Red Balloons, you know, that song in German. That was a big hit back then, so he had it on the tape. But then there was also The Message was on the tape, like, you know, Grandmaster Flash. So it's like that joint. I do remember when I was listening to the tape, while we was playing Lego, we was just listening to the tape on the side, and for some reason that song catched me the most. That was my favorite song. By like for weeks we was just playing with that tape in the background, right? And so I do, even at the time, man, I remember exactly when I put out the tape to rock it. I already knew how much I would have to forward it to the song. So we will start our session with that song because I liked it so much. Then we went all the way back and listened to the tape from the top. But like that song peaked out for some reason. I don't know. It catched me, you know. And I guess since that I was more or less on the hip hop tip. I mean, obviously, you know, I loved a lot of music as a kid. I liked Michael Jackson. I liked like Scorpions and shit, you know, like all types of music before I even thought in like genres and shit, right? But yeah, and then it was pretty clear that what kind of music I liked. Then I heard about like Run DMC, Ice-T, you know, and stuff like that. So I got more into in like all the hip hop shit basically. And you have to imagine, man, in the 90s or like late 80s in Germany, there wasn't really like record stores like that, you know, like especially not in small cities. And obviously there was no internet where you just go online and Google something and find out, oh, okay, this is the new album from whatever. So I had to travel kind of into the bigger cities, going to the record stores and just going through the records and buy the looks of the pictures or whatever, like whatever the names, you know. There was new groups that I didn't even know, Public Enemy, and if you never heard it before, you know, you don't even know what it is, obviously. But so I always picked up records, brought them home and start listening to it. And I don't know, it became kind of automatically that I was like into hip hop, you know. I still liked it, like Michael Jackson and certain music on the side, but it was pretty clear and fast to me that like my shit is hip hop, and I start collecting hip hop records, you know. Right. And you had to, back then you had to build your own knowledge, man, about hip hop, you know, like, because like I said, there was no internet, there was no hip hop magazines. This was even before the first magazines, kind of, especially again in Germany, you know. If I would have grown up in New York, it might have been different, you know. I would just have gone to any shows or stuff like that. But you know, being in Germany, it's definitely a little bit more tough, I would say, you know. Things needed way longer to get over here. But, you know.
Yeah, I've said it before on the show that Americans were kind of spoiled when it comes to hip hop.
Very much.
Because we've grown up with it. It's just been a part of like our lives because we're 80s babies too, you know, and so it was just there. And
Right.
other people around the world, they didn't have that access until the internet really hit, and then it blew up. And all those groups that you mentioned that you liked as a kid, I feel I can hear that in the Snowgoon sound. Like yours, I'm a
Mhm.
very big fan. I'm trying not to fanboy out on you guys, but I'm a huge fan. Your music is very. I take it as like a hip hop opera almost. Like it's very
Mhm.
operatic at some point. And I was
Mhm.
wondering, is that a choice made to make it? Because I hear it. I can hear that operatic sound. Is that something that you guys intended on doing? Crypt, you go
Right.
first,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's just the rough, rugged, and raw shit, and maybe it's also a little bit that German-ish style, that harsh German straight thing, which is in the beats as well, a
Very
little bit kind
big.
of. So yeah, I guess
Right.
definitely a little bit.
A funny thing though is like when I started doing beats in the late '90s, right? I started working obviously with a lot of German artists or some of them, right? Because obviously, like you said, that's like where I grew up, and that was my surrounding, and that was my friends, and I mean, at the time, I wasn't like I was going in '96 was my first time to the States, like going there as a vacation type kind of thing, right? I had like zero connection to nobody there, right, in the hip hop scene or anything. But yeah, so I start doing beats and hand it out to German artists. But then a lot of these guys was telling me like, yo, I don't know, your beats, they sound like very like American style. And I was like, I didn't even get it, because like, what is an American style
Yeah.
beat? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I do get it. You can have a certain sound, maybe, like let's just say Jay Dilla, that he has his own like, and it's labeled as Detroit, whatever, like that kind of funky, laid back and still raw kind of sound. Obviously, you can label it in a direction, but like saying like a beat sounds like very American or something, right? It was mad stupid to me. But actually, that was also kind of one of the reasons why I started working with American artists, because I heard that kind of like 2 3 times, from German artists, and I was like, all right, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna reach out to American artists, and if it's like that, and which was my influence anyway, right? And so yeah, so I got that's how I guess got mainly into the American market, more or less, if you want to say it like that. Yeah.
Right. And you guys have exploded into the American market. You guys have worked with everybody. Like everybody. Like it's even hard to list the names of people that you've worked with because you just have to say everybody. So
Right, right. No,
who
it's
was
true.
your favorite person to work with?
Whew.
Who's your favorite person to work with?
It's definitely a handful, but I mean, it, yeah, I mean, obviously, it's definitely like one of my best friends, Reef the Lost Cause, for example.
Shout out to
You
Reef.
had him on the show already.
I love
He's
I love your favorite MC.
he's
I love
like
that record.
he's like a superhuman. Like he's definitely one of the best guys, man. And whenever we do music, it's just fun and. But I don't want to exclude anybody. It's like this goes pretty much the same for like Sean Strange, and then also for Onyx. It's like it has been the last years. Recently, I would say it has changed a lot with like Onyx. We became really close, and
Very dope.
sometimes to me even that's still mind blowing. Like I see myself as a kid, man, like standing in front of the TV, like jumping to Yo MTV Raps when Slam was coming on and shit, was slam dancing in front of the TV, and now I'm like basically friends with the guys, we on the phone all the time, and and whenever they tour in Europe, I'm DJing, and it's like it's kind of almost like I'm 50% into the group, kind of, like not taking too many credits or whatever, but um yeah, and it's just different, and seeing these legends like doing their work, man, like that goes also back to what we said earlier, like you letting your life experience going into the making music, right? Because when we did the first Onyx album, like it was mainly obviously over the internet, because at the time, we just get to know each other, and we were sending beats, and there was recording joints, and then we worked on a couple joints, but we was never actually in a studio session together doing the joints. But then by the time doing the second album, the Snowmads album, it was way different, because one of the joints, the Kill the Mic joint, for example, is actually a joint that was created live during the show, because like I remember I was playing on the way to the venue, or it must have been to the way on the way to the show. I played that beat from Kill the Mic, and Fredro loved it. He's like, yo, like play that beat tonight at the show. I was like, okay. So during the show, he was like, yo, put out that beat. So I dropped the beat for Kill the Mic, and they was literally like freestyling to the beat, like they doing these chants, right? And just trying out things and shit. And he was just like, yo, I love this beat, blah, blah, blah. So, and then we continued the show, and I wasn't even thinking about it much. But apparently somebody obviously recorded the song and put it up like on whatever, like Instagram or whatever, and he tagged Fredro. So Fredro got back to the recording that he did, and he must have been write down the lyrics. Like a couple days later, we went into the studio, and he took a lot of parts from what he did live into the song, basically, and we recorded the song for real, you know? So, and yeah, it was amazing for me to see, like, oh shit, like, you know, we created a song live on stage, basically. Right. And it was a different progress on the second album, because we was recording most of the songs while we were on the road, going into studios here in Europe, you know, and then they just finished it up once they was back. So that's why I was saying, like, you know, with Onyx, it's also different, man, like seeing their talent, man, like they take such a minimal beat. If you hear the instrumental, it's just a loop and the drums and really short, and you're like, okay, it's cool, it has a drive, but nothing really happens. But then once they lay their vocals and they come in with their hooks and everything, then you're like, oh shit, this is a banger, you know, like, and for Onyx, for the most parts, they have like very simplicity hooks, man. Like it's one or two lines and they repeat, sometimes for like 8 bars, kind of, you know. And I'm always, when I hear it the first time, I'm like, oh man, it's very simple, but it's catchy too in a way. So seeing that, how they do it, you know, that makes me always like, yo, these guys are geniuses, you know, like really doing songs that are catchy and being super simple and still like having that Onyx touch, like being aggressive and straight in your face and all of that, you know. Like, and then also on top, man, that's what I have to give up for Onyx, man, why I love them so much. Once you hear a Onyx solo album per se, like Fredro Starr or Sticky Fingers, it's something totally different than from Onyx.
Yeah, it is.
If you listen to any of their albums, you can't compare it to the Onyx sound. Yep. And I'm not sure if they do it on purpose or if that's just them individual. And then once they coming together, they become Onyx, you know. So that's very phenomenal to see, you know, and like experience it firsthand, being in the studio with them doing songs is definitely like one of my highlights. And that's what I'm saying. Like these guys, being with them in the studio is definitely always a pleasure and super dope to see and be a part of.
Must be. It must be. I got a question.
Go ahead.
Because there's so many talented people in the collective, how do you decide where the music goes? So, like, if you're gonna put together a project, how do you say, okay, your beat comes here, now I want one from Crypt, this, you know what I mean? Like, how do you get the pass on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's not really that. Like I said, there is no really a boss, you know, and I guess this is also another part why the Snowgoons are what they are, because we don't have a manager or management or anybody that says like, oh yeah, you know what, you have to do this and you have to work with these guys and to get to the next level and all of this, you know. We don't care about that. Basically what we usually do is like we sending each other beats, right? Like, because we are really spread out, man. Like even like pretty much none of the Snowgoons members, and not even the Snowgoons DJs members, they living kind of really close. Like we all, the very closest more or less is probably me and Crypt. Like we being a good hour away, basically, right? It's almost like New York, Philly kind of type almost somehow. And yeah, and so that's why, like, you know, we don't sit really much together like that. But then at the same time, we just sending around beats. Whenever Sick has a new beat, he send it to us. And then, you know, and then of course we do sessions together. But you know, for the most parts, we just sending beats around, and then everybody gives his feedback, everybody gives his opinion, and everybody gives his like whatever he thinks, right? And it's like, yo, this beat, man, would fit super dope to this artist. And then also on the other side, sometimes obviously we work on a project. If it's a new Snowgoons project per se, right? Then we have like a topic, like let's just say it's a Black Snow type album, right? And then we already know what the sound is going to be like, and then we envision a couple of artists that could fit maybe, and that we actually right now love and like to work with, and then we hit them up, and so it's a constantly progress of like working on the music, and so there is no really like I said, a method or blueprint on be like, oh yeah, you know what, we have to always do it like this. It's a lot of spontaneous shit too, though. Like sometimes I just also send around a sample, or Crypt sends me a sample. He's like, yo, this sounds something you would kind of flip, and I think that's what makes the Snowgoons so tight too, that we have so much variety and so much like force that we can take off from,
There's a lot going on in
Want
there.
to give it 1 second and shout out Keller coming. Thank you, sir, for joining us.
Absolutely.
It's a pleasure.
What's up? What's up? You hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I've been
Yes, sir,
following. I
we can
was
hear you.
backstage, but was able to see you guys and was listening to. I came in backstage when you guys was talking about how did you guys first got introduced yourself in the hip hop era, and Manu Legal said like early '90s, Crypt said middle '90s. So yeah. I'm an 80s boy, man. I grew up with these LL Cool J's I can live on the radio. I grew up with Rakims and Big Daddy Kanes and Coogee Raps, to make these as my like top three of all time. Big Daddy Kane, Coogee Rap, Rakim, the pioneers basically, And like Manu said, I'd like to add some to that idea of a concept or anything. It's like Manu said, sometimes we do have a blueprint. For instance, especially when it comes to a Snowgoons album, we sit down and say, okay, what direction do we want to take? More cinematic, epic, or have like a dark street feeling or whatever, This is the only direction we're giving, and then who would nobody expect to be featured on the Snowgoons album besides the Snowgoons family? Say like Sean Strange, with The Lost Cause, or a couple of dudes we consider family, and everybody love to hear them on a new Snowgoons album. But besides that, we're always looking for that unexpected feature pack. We're not looking for another Comega Havoc feature, They recorded a lot of times, so this wouldn't be a surprise. It would be a surprise that Snowgoons worked with them, of course, but it wouldn't be a surprise that these two guys are together on one song.
Right.
So we're looking always for the unexpected. So this is like the concept we're talking about, and then we just send out beats, and the direction we're then taking is the decision of the artist. So it's the artist's pick. We send out beats from Crypt, from Manu and me, from Signature, and whoever they pick, whatever they pick, we start working on,
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
It's sometimes also really random, because on sometimes we just feel like, yo, this beat fits perfect for whatever this artist, right? So we send him only one beat. But sometimes we give him a choice of like 3, 4, even 5 beats. And then it's always like 50-50. They pick whatever they feel like. And sometimes even they're like, yo, you know what? I don't like any of these. Do you have some more? So it's like it's a wild variety, and but that's what I also love on all of this, like it's a progress of like constantly like working on different projects, man. Like we have, man, I sometimes I honestly, or sometimes I lose overview of on what we're working on, because it's so many projects and so many ideas we got. And at the same time, it's beautiful because it keeps me going, it keeps me motivated, and it's not boring, you know what I'm saying? So it's another thing that I really like about it. And then again, like I said, we don't have really like a management or anything like that. We don't need it, you know what I'm saying? Like we do it driven straight from the love of hip hop, and that's always like what it comes down to at the end of the day for a Snowgoons project.
All right.
Yeah, you guys
say is the most obscure collaboration that you've made work. So like you said, what was that feature that you were like, oh, I never saw them together and it worked for you guys?
Gotta definitely think for a minute. I mean, definitely a little bit to be honest, like, we definitely not like outside the box kind of dudes if it comes to that, because if you really look at all, like pretty much all the artists is like either, really like underground New York 90s whatever type kind of, right? But we had, for example, we had Beanie Man on a joint, so that's definitely already like for us at least outside the box. And I like reggae shit, it's not like um and it has nothing to do that we don't like other music or whatever. We just so focused on what we doing, what works for us, right? So but yeah, I don't know, that or Crypt, do you know anything like kind of definitely a wild kind of feature type kind of thing? I mean,
Yeah,
definitely recently I would say,
Ghostface and Sick Jacken was pretty.
That's wild.
Yeah,
Yeah, wild.
it was dope. That was dope. I love that
right.
track.
And also recently with Lords and Onyx, like, which is not even really a wild feature per se, but the fact that they never have worked together before, like during even the 90s and everything, and then doing a killer track like we did, with the WhatsApp joint, is definitely also something that was definitely dope, and different in my opinion, for especially nowadays. I guess if we would have done that in the 90s, it wouldn't be that interesting, because in the 90s, obviously, you had, let's say, just only this kind of handful of those artists, right? And they was collabing more or less all the time if they in the same area or whatever, right? But like doing this like fucking like over 20 years later is definitely more crazy to me, like with Lords and Onyx, like because they came both with their A game and a super dope joint. So that was definitely more interesting in my opinion, But yeah, I mean, it's like you said already, man. We worked with so many people. It's like, honestly, I think it will be a 300 number or something,
Yeah.
if we line up every single artist that we have worked with since the early 2000s, it's
That's
probably
wild.
coming definitely up to like 300 if you include all the DJs as well, which you should, because DJs just as same as an artist as anybody else, or even other producers that we worked with, that's another thing. Like a lot of people don't even know that we're working with so many people. We also work with other producers. If you look really close, there's a couple Snowgoons projects where somebody else produced something, and that's what's it always about for us, man. Like, it's hip hop is this unity thing, right? So it's never about egos and like, nah, we need to do all of this shit, It's like we have a lot of friends, producer friends that we fuck with, and if somebody comes up, and if sometimes it happens, that they have a dope beat, and then they connect us to other artist, and then it just comes up like this, and so we're the last people on be like on some like, nah, man, just has to be Snowgoons. We always show love, and that's another thing I think what Snowgoons makes the Snowgoons.
Who are you looking forward to working with in the future? Like any of the new cats coming up, or any legends that you haven't worked with yet? Who do you have your eye on?
That who you got?
I'm a big Queensbridge fan, man. So Tragedy we already worked with.
Right.
So you can take a guess who might be next and who we're looking for. But some of these dudes are just not our league. I would love to work with Nas, but he found his new love and new niche with Hit Boy. I personally
Right.
think he's giving a good production and a good variety.
Yeah.
And these two cats obviously have a lot of fun, and Nas loves making music again after
Mhm.
all these projects, every year. And I love that Magic album. But maybe Havoc. Who knows what the future holds?
True.
And I'd love to work on some more joints with MOP again,
That would be dope.
Yep.
because not talking about crazy features, but crazy collabos. This was something I didn't expect to happen, and I'm so happy that we made it happen.
Right.
And yeah, who else? Mano.
Well, I just can definitely co-sign that, because like Crypt said already before, man, we heavy into QB, and obviously we have worked with a couple cats from there already, like Infamous Mob, Comega,
Right,
and
right,
Nature, man, like
right.
is dope QB rappers, Royal Flush and is Queens, especially also like, man, it's definitely a dope to have already worked with some of them. But of course, it's like there sky's the limit. You know what I'm saying? Like it's definitely. But then also, I think kind of thinking outside the box a little bit. For example, like you probably will find this weird, right? But like me personally, I like Russ, for example, right? Like he, I'm not like a super fan, and I don't like everything he's doing, right? But like, beside like the fact that he's all doing independent and all of this, push it aside and just look at the music side, I definitely like a lot of his stuff, and once again, not everything, and but working, for example, with him would be crazy too, not just because he has such a big name or anything, just like to do something different that probably nobody would expect.
Right.
Yeah,
that kind of.
musically.
That's what I was thinking. Honestly, if I could throw a name in the hat, it would be Absol. I would love to hear solo. You guys. That would
Definitely
be
dope too, yeah. Word. Crypt, what's up
Crypt,
with you? Do you have somebody favorite?
Yeah, unfortunately, Prodigy passed away, so that would have been my biggest aim, my biggest dream ever. So yeah, you already mentioned so many names. It's
Right. Yeah, I mean, like you said, we all into the QB shit, so it's like any QB cat always fits to the Snowgoons. That's not even a question.
indeed, man, 100%.
Goonsbridge.
Goonsbridge, you heard?
Goonsbridge.
Like peanut butter and jelly.
But personally, I know he knows us and likes our stuff, but another dream besides Nas would be Chuck D.
Word.
Because I grew up in the 80s and Rebel Without a Pause and all that, and I saw them live in Germany because the US Army was used to be stationed over here in the southern part of Germany. So we was there like 8,000 people on the Def Jam tour with LL Cool J and Public Enemy when they dropped their first album, and they started to like taking off, and so that was an experience, and I grew up with them, and I like always like not that bragging and boasting, but the different approach, like not even saying political, but something different, and Chuck D, highly respected. I don't know. This is a dream, but a lot of people want to work with him. He's rare. He's rare, but yeah, that would be something. Immortal Technique.
Yep, that's another one.
I think Immortal would fit our style pretty well.
Very well.
I'd love to do a project with Sick Checkin'.
Yeah, Sick Checkin'.
I think we can add some to his style too. So, and that's not even too far out, It's West Coast, but we already worked with him, so this would be something we might consider.
Right.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to know, what was it like working with Vero the Virus? Like, rest in peace. That he was a talent. He was a talent that was gone too soon, because if he was still around, yeah, there you go. He'd be on another level at this point. What was it like working with that dude?
Man, like Viro, we only had the chance to meet him like 3 times basically, and we only had really one studio session together. And I do remember, man, Viro was always a funny guy, like super energy and super nice guy. Like he comes really close to like Reef. Like, you guys actually ever been around Reef in person? Like
we actually did a podcast episode with him a couple of months ago. Great guy. Great.
Definitely, man. Like, and that's I don't know. I know Viro is from Jersey basically, but he used to hang in Philly all the time because he was just right over the bridge and shit. But like, I don't know what it is though. Like with Philly cats, they have this chill and I don't know. There's something about it though. But yeah, Viro, man, he was special in every way. Like the way he rhymed and doing songs, it was so smooth and then slick and everything. Like he was such a talent in my opinion. Like when you actually listen close to his music, man, like you see so many punchlines and so many things that you just get like after 2 and 3 times listening, like, oh shit, he put some shit in there, like really poetic stuff, and just again, like his voice, his delivery, so smooth and everything. When we heard the first time, like shout out to our guy DJ Stress from Philly, like he introduced us to Viral basically by sending me some music, right? Because man, you have to understand this was in like 2007 or 2006, 7, around that time when we wasn't really too deep into the Philly scene, and then once again, Viral is from Jersey, no doubt, but like he used to work with Viral at the time, and so he was sending us some music, and me and Dad right away was like, yo, this dude is so dope, let's work. That's why on the Black Snow album is so many of the Philly cats, Side Effect, for example. Like he's super dope. Like all these guys, Brainstorm, and then obviously Reef and the whole crew. But like, yeah, man, like Viral, it was like when we sent him the beat for the Starlight joint, this was the first joint they recorded for us. I remember that Caleb Now, he was like hitting us back and said like, yo, Viral never recorded as fast as to this joint, and he did like 3 verses, so we already knew it was something special too. And if you're looking back right now on the Black Snow album, the Starlight joint is one of the biggest joints there, like people really feel that joint. And even crazier to me, man, if you listen to the lyrics, you could hear already his struggle with what's going on inside of him, like he had the line where he said, and sometimes I feel like a snowball in hell. I mean, it's like, it just sounds like a punchline, right? Like doing the snowball in a hell, but like really that was about him, and it's just so crazy, and yeah, so Viral the Virus Man, he will be forever like I would say, like, in the Snowgoons, man, like we will always keep his name up, man, no doubt about that.
Yeah, he was super talented, super talented. But,
And
Ron,
actually,
do you have another-
when,
go ahead,
when we sorry, actually when we met up or rounded up in Philadelphia and shot the video for the Starlight joint, Khalid was there, Viral was there, Stress the White Boy was there. So we was talking to Viral, and he asked us, man, we should work more together. Let's do a project and everything. And I said, all right, we're down for whatever. And then, Black Snow came out, a couple of months passed by, and then we was hitting each other up. Okay, let's start working and stuff. And it never got to that point where we really started to record. So just like you guys said, I'm pretty sure, and this is the sad thing about it, that the Starlight joint or the working together with him could have been a good ignition for both of us, because we fitted pretty much super good, and Khalid now is a close friend to me, and even closer to Manu. So this could have been family as well as with the Reef. And just like you say, Manu, I don't know if it's like the Philly thing or whatever, but Reef and Viral, we get along super easy and super click click click. So
Yeah.
just like the guy says, and maybe you can already hear it through that one song, or when we remix other songs, that man, this could have been something.
Yeah.
Word.
Mhm.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Viral the Virus Man.
Yeah.
That's
R.I.P.
huge for sure. You guys talk about the Snowgoons family, and it very much is. You guys are building this family. Who are the newest cats you guys are bringing in that we're gonna hear soon?
You mean like for upcoming stuff? Like, well, like I said before, also the Snowgoons, we not just like the producer collective, we also the Snowgoons DJs, which is kind of like a second crew per se, right? But at the end of the day, it's all we all Snowgoons in a way, right? And it's always a family thing. And we just super recently, actually, we added like 2 new members to the Snowgoons DJs, which is DJ TMB from the UK and DJ Trey from Switzerland, so makes the whole Snowgoons DJs even bigger, and it's only a natural process of, because we're working so much with these kids and we all on the same tip, it's like, for us, it's not even about like a status or anything, right? Like we was not looking for some other DJs or some other guys who stepping into the group. It's just a natural way of like, whenever we in like Switzerland, DJ Trey comes over, he's holding us down for whatever, if we have shows. then he's doing some cuts and working with the same cats. And again, this is like, I think, what it makes it all like really a family. We don't just throw that term around like just to have it cool or whatever. It's really a term like when it comes to Snowgoons and the music. There was always also for me, man, like back then, even before the Snowgoons, like way before that, that was what I kind of loved with hip hop, like, because it was that connection to other people, that listen to the same music. I was visiting in like the 90, 91, 92, 93. I was visiting a lot of hip hop jams that we had already here in Germany. And that was really similar to the hip hop jams back in the days in the States, because there was b-boying, there was graffiti, there was like the DJ spinning music, and then in the evening there was the live acts and shit, and everybody was hanging out together. Like what you really mean as the original hip hop jam, when all elements and everybody from the culture was down and representing. And I come from that time, and somehow, man, like you was traveling sometimes 3-4 hours to another city you have never been before, right? And you barely know anybody from that city, but you go to the hip hop show, and all of a sudden you amongst a lot of hip hop dudes, and everybody is like on the same page, like you feel like you're home, it's cool, like, and you can talk to other people about like a new album or some new shit or whatever, right? And they give you a flyer from the next jam in like 2 months in another city and stuff like that. That was again the pre-internet connecting with people, right? That's what I really loved about hip hop as well. I that was so dope, always going on to hip hop shows and connecting with people. And I think we took some of that energy and that spirit we took into the Snowgoons as a crew, and keep still running with it. So, the whole family thing, it is really a real thing for us, though.
I'm not sure if I got the question correct. You guys are looking for names to drop for what we can expect to drop in 2023 or what?
Something like it, yeah, absolutely.
Yes, sir. If you like to.
So okay, so if you follow up on Instagram, sometimes we do post this and that, but what's definitely in the making is we work with Nine on some new stuff together with Rusty Chucks. Who else, Manu?
Well, the next really release that
let them out.
And these guys, Grind Mode Cypher, they're from your area, mainly, Lingo and AOK, the homies, and Frankie V, everybody, man, like the whole, I honestly, I kind of always like saw the grind mode movement, but for some reason I never really paid attention, because I thought it was really based on like battle rap, and I'm personally not too much into battle rap. It's not like I have something against it, but I just not really follow up on the battle rap scene like that, like all of that, especially like the newer stuff with the acapella where they don't even play a beat anymore. It was never really for me. I don't want to diss it or anything, respect to the guys who's doing it and everything. For me, it just never did it somehow. So I never really followed up. And I guess the first time I heard about Grind Mode Cypher, I kind of thought it's like the Cypher thing, right? But they doing it really different, right? And so I kind of, for some reason, and I mean, man, we busy, we can't follow up on everything. But when these guys hit us up about a beat, right? I was looking into it, of course, and I realized like, yo, this is dope what they doing, right? And they're cool dudes. And we start talking, and I had the idea like, all right, we can give you a beat and you do another cipher with the Snowgoons beat. That's cool. But why not do something different? Like, so I asked them, did you ever actually like released a grind mode cipher song as a song, as a digital single and all of that? And they were saying, nah, not really. We're doing the videos, but like we never treated it as like as a song. So I was like, you know what, man? Let's give some shine on Grind Mode Cypher and put a song actually on a Snowgoons album, so people gonna realize like, yo, this is some real shit they're doing. And I'm not saying that they need the Snowgoons to prove anybody like that they're doing some real shit. But then again, combining those forces from their movement, because they have a really strong, dope movement. and especially lingo and shit, man. Like he's like the main dude doing a lot of shit in there, and everybody pitching. You can tell they have a dope crew, like who backing them up and everything. So we like that movement and saw a lot of similarities to it. So long story short, we dropping now the Grind Mode Snowgoons project, and it's coming in March already. And I believe in 2 weeks we have the first single dropping. And yeah, obviously you just can't expect some fire. It's like it's dope beats and a lot of dope MCs.
Shout out to Lingo for putting that together. That is a hardworking man right there. And shout out to you guys for making that connection. That's fire right there, for real.
Word. Yeah, man. That's something super recent. So that's the next thing. So then, like that said, Nine and Rust Chook's we're gonna drop some fire soon. But then also, man, like I said earlier, I almost losing overview, man. Like we're doing so much stuff, right? Like there's a couple projects on ice. For example, like the Lords of the Underground project, it's basically done, but it's gonna come, obviously due to the Corona pandemic,
whenever you
low. And but yeah, it's definitely gonna come this year. And yeah, it's so many projects. Signature is working on a solo project that's gonna drop also hopefully this year. And then I know Crypt is working on some new shit. So yeah, let the people know, Crypt.
Yeah. Like my Beatmaker instrumental album will be released in April, which will be also released on vinyl. And yeah, 12 songs. It's already in the press plant, the production. So yeah, it will be a very vibey, boom bappy kind of album. So yeah, people look out for that release, man. I'm super hyped to present it. And yeah,
I look forward to hearing that.
Yeah, the name is Genesis. So because of regarding I was drinking so much gin tonic all the time during DJ shows and all that back then, and I was famous for that. And then the creation of Adam and Genesis. So this combination of both, that will be the topic for my album. So yeah, get prepared for it, man.
Very dope. Very dope.
But yeah, we also working, man, with Sean Strange on the project, and it's like the list just goes on and on. And then we have also our monthly single project going on the first of the month, which is a whole other thing in itself, basically. And so actually, just today we dropped a new song with Napoleon the Legend and Generation on the hook. So there is constantly new music. So it's like, man, it's like I said, you can easily lose overview.
Yeah, when you attach the name Snowgoons to anything in the underground.
Sorry again?
I don't know if he can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
you. Yeah.
I pretty much think what he was saying is that, like, when you attach the Snowgoons name to any project, it spreads so wide because of how many people that you guys have in the umbrella. It's amazing. Like, there is a lot of areas that you guys cover. And again, as fans, it's dope to see the growth and the progression, and knowing that there's still more to come. I'm very excited to see this, man. And I can't say you guys enough for sitting down with us. For real.
Hip-hop world. People are gonna
Thanks.
Always.
When you add the Snowgoons name to anything in underground hip hop.
There it goes again.
Yep.
Shit.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like the funny part is too, like Crypt has the Goon Music hat on, and we founded Goon Music, the label, more or less not to like founding a label. It was more like really a platform for ourselves to release our music, right? And back then we didn't even know that it will become such a strong name hold for hip hop, and so even till today we don't really see it as a classic label in the classic sentence. We're not signing people and trying to just put their music out and making money or whatever. It's like really like Goon Music just basically gave us the freedom to do whatever we want to do as a label. And then once again, not in the classic sentence, So, but like you said, under that umbrella, we're still putting out obviously people and friends and artists that we fuck with basically. And till today, that's like also one of our biggest freedom to do independently what we want to do. And I guess this is once again, man, I always come back to like what the Snowgoons makes the Snowgoons, but this is also another part, because you can't really pin it down on one thing why the Snowgoons are the Snowgoons, right? It is such a variety of things, like everybody singly pitching in with whatever he brings to the table, and then on the other side also every artist that works with us brings in his thing, and then like you said, it spreads, because once you start working with Sick Checkin, all of a sudden you're on the West Coast, right? We start working with Planet Asia, you're on the West Coast. But then we're working with Conway, for example, then we in Buffalo, and we're working with Reef, then we in Philly. And so this what makes also the Snowgoons really strong, I think, like the whole variety of these artists and friends that we have.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it sounds very adaptable, and you fit. That's like a puzzle piece with all the different MCs and the sound of the Snowgoons, and it fits together very, very well.
Shit, I
But
want to beat.
a lot of people do. A lot of people do.
Question.
What's that like? How are your emails? Your emails must be exploding with people looking for Snowgoons beats.
Yeah, not anymore, luckily though. But yeah, it used to be a time, man. Like there was not a single day where I not had like one or two emails about beats. But the fact that we actually not selling beats, and I guess slowly people start realizing that,
Yeah.
Mm, then they stopped obviously hitting us up, and now it's coming here and there, maybe on the gram sometimes somebody hit us up for some production, and but yeah, we never actually really like kind of selling beats. And I think in the end of the game is also, it's like that's what keep the Snowgoons name strong up there too. Because and I'm not saying it's wrong to sell beats or anything, by any means. Like everybody is doing what he feels like. We just was so busy working on our own stuff. We were so driven, and still we so up with projects and everything. So that's actually also another reason why we don't really hand out beats like that, because we're not just sitting there and doing a whole bunch of beats and then trying to figure out like how we can sell them or something. It's like for the majority we have beats, and then like that said already, um especially nowadays more than back in the days, we have concepts for projects, ideas, and then we need those beats, and then make those songs happen basically. And then there is not really much left. Like I remember in the 90s when I started producing, man, like I was doing like maybe 10 beats or let's just say I was doing 2 beats a month maximum, right? And that was both garbage kind of, right? So and now it's like the other way around. We're doing beats, and it's like, if we not feel like that this is another banger, and it doesn't has to be always a banger, but like if we don't feel like this has the power to be a Snowgoons beat, we don't even start working on this shit, and then go on to the next. So that's our, to keep up our standard, and then of course everybody's different, you learn, we even still learning like little things about, like whatever, like beats, doing beats, or anything in this whole Snowgoons business. We still learning, and I guess that's what keeps us hungry too, though.
Absolutely.
That's dope. That's dope. I want to thank you guys for coming on. We're coming to the end of our hip hop happy hour, and it's been such a pleasure. And thank you for taking the time. You guys are what, 6 hours ahead of us right now, and
Right.
get ready to go on tour. And you took the time to hang out with us for this hour, and that's pretty damn dope. Like,
Super great.
it's been a highlight of our podcast for sure.
Fuck
And
yeah.
Well, thanks for having us.
For having us, yo.
Absolutely.
wish you guys
Thanks for
the
having
best
us.
of success. Keep pushing. Keep making crazy beats, crazy albums that we get to listen to and enjoy. And like I said, I've been listening to you guys for a very, very long time, over 15 years. So
We're
I thoroughly, thoroughly thank you guys for your contribution to the culture.
Absolutely.
And
Hey, you guys have no idea how many times I've freestyled over your beats. Like I can't, like, bro. People have lost their whole like confidence and like they can't even look at themselves for the next 2 weeks because of your beats and what I do over them.
Salute.
Seriously, I
Again,
appreciate it.
Thank you
Thanks a
guys.
lot.
Thank you guys. And again, thank you for sitting in with the Hip Hop Happy Hour podcast.
A fucking
Big shout out.
Word out.
Man. Thanks for your work too, man. Of course.
Thank you, sir.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks.
Peace.
Shout out to the Snowgoons. Peace.
Word. Fly, Eagles, fly.
Word.